Hey guys, it's Beth, and today I have a way for you to get 4 projects out of one sheet of 12 by 12 paper. And first I just wanted to apologize I didn't get a video out last week. I have been sick, the flu has gone through our house, and after the flu I had pneumonia, and now it's just now kind of getting back to feeling like myself again. So bear with the voice, but I've had this project in the works for like 2 weeks waiting for a video, so I wanted to get that out to you. But I came across this by accident when I was working on cutting the rest of my paper down for cards as part of my Kilopad project with the Songbird, the DCWV Songbird stack. And when I was cutting sheets down, I had several sheets left of the full sheets left of this music note paper, sheet music paper. And I thought it would make some cute notepad holders because in my silhouette I knew there was a phrase that I wanted to use with it that says, "Without music, life would be flat." So I kind of knew I wanted to use this punny little saying with this paper on a notepad holder, and then this cloud paper I thought would be cute as a notepad holder as well. So when I was cutting down this music note paper, I realized I could get 2 of these larger Post-it note holders out of one sheet, and then with what was left I had enough for a little 3x3 Post-it note holder, and then what scrap was left after that I had enough to make a little 3x3 note card. So that was 4 projects that I could get out of one 12 by 12. Now granted, you don't see a second one of these because when I went to score it, I scored it upside down, so I guess I could have kept it and had it open backwards, but I ended up just cutting it down and using it for cards, so it still got used. But so that was 4 sellable items that I got from one 12 by 12 sheet of paper. So that's kind of what I wanted to share with you today. This would be a great way to use up your paper really quickly if you had a pad that you were wanting to finish off, and it's a great way to mass produce if you were wanting to make notepad holders for craft shows. But just to show you kind of what I did, this is from Dollar Tree. It's a 3x5 Post-it notepad that's lined, and it has 150 sheets in it. And again, that came from the Dollar Tree. And I did a tutorial on this particular notepad, like a holder for this size notepad last fall, and I will link that in the description box below. But on the front, like I said, I just printed out this phrase from my silhouette on craft cardstock, and then had my silhouette cut it down into kind of like the scalloped square, the label shape, and then did a black cardstock backing on that, and then added some sequins just to give it a little bit of extra decoration. And then I used the same phrase on this little 3x3 notepad holder, but this time I cut it into a circle and did a little scallop circle behind it. And all of my notepads are held together with some adhesive Velcro just to make it easy. And then on these cloud ones, it's the same lined notepad from the Dollar Tree. And this time I printed out the phrase, "Darling girl, you can do amazing things," from my silhouette. Did it on white cardstock this time, and then backed it on a red scallop circle just to kind of help it pop off of that notepad a little bit. And then I had white space up here that bothered me, of course, and so I filled it with some matching sequins. And then on the little card, I ended up doing it kind of after I had started making some of the other cards from this pad, and so I had used some of the elements that I had already cut for cards and just did some die cut circles layered, and then a fussy cut bird from the pad, and then a little stamp up here that just says "For You." So pretty quick and simple. And then kind of on an unrelated but yet related note, you've seen me use my pad covers for different things in the past. I've made bookmarks, tags, I've fussy cut elements out of the pad cover and used it on cards, but I had another use for it this time. I made a Post-it note holder. So basically this was a strip that was part of the pad, and sorry for the glare there. There was information about the pad over here, and so I was able to get a 3.5 by 7 inch strip of this birdhouse kind of scene. And so I just cut it out and then scored it at 3 1/4 inches from both sides, and it became a really quick and simple notepad holder. Now I haven't decorated this one up at all. And I'm sorry, this totally bothers me. I had found a big pack of 3M Post-it notes at Costco, and it was a pretty good deal, and I did it a couple years ago. But every pad that came out of that pack is curved, and so it doesn't want to stay on the pads. I always have to reinforce it somehow. So sorry, a little tangent there, but drives me crazy. Okay, so when I made these, I used the lined notepad. I am actually out of these, and so we're going to use a different notepad today, and I have tweaked the dimensions of my template to fit a new kind of notepad. So these are also from the Dollar Tree. They're the Jot Sticky Notes 100 count, and they are also 3.5 by 5 inches. They are just not lined, and there's only 100 sheets as opposed to 150. And you could also use the actual 3M Post-it notes, which are 3 by 5 and have 100 sheets as well. They are the exact same size. I actually found an unopened 2-pack of these 3M ones at Goodwill at one point for 99 cents, so that was a good deal. But, you know, the Dollar Tree pads work well also. And then we're also just using a regular 3 by 3 inch Post-it pad. This is actually 3M, and this one I got at, I think, Meijer on clearance for 89 cents, and this was after school had started, when they were starting to clearance their school supplies. So I know I've seen them cheaper at Target before during that time. I just didn't make it up to Target this fall when they had their school stuff on clearance. So if you are wanting to use the actual 3M pads instead of Dollar Tree pads, and if you can wait until after school starts in the fall, I recommend waiting until they start to clearance out their school supplies, and you might be able to pick a bunch up for very inexpensively. Okay, so we are going to get into our project. I am out of full-size sheets from my Songbird pad because I'm almost done with the cards actually, so I don't have much of anything left anymore. So I just pulled a sheet of pattern paper from my stash that I thought might make some cute notepad holders. And this one is actually double-sided. Yours doesn't have to be. I just picked this one because it was a cute print and it was nice and thick. And I do recommend that you do use a thicker weight pattern paper for these projects, because you want to make sure that it will hold up against the weight of the pad. And if you're using any kind of closure like Velcro, you want to make sure it's sturdy enough that it's not going to tear when the Velcro resists a little bit. If you are using a thinner paper, I recommend you making all of your cuts out of just solid cardstock, and then you can come in and decorate it. You know, cut your pattern paper to fit all the different pieces, and then use it to decorate instead of actually making the template or the holder out of it. But like I said, mine is pretty thick, so we're just going to go ahead and use that. You don't have to make many cuts at all, and you don't have to do much scoring. So like I said, these go together fairly quickly. But we are going to first cut our paper down to 8.5 inches. And we're going to set this thinner strip aside for now. And then we're going to take our 8.5 by 12 piece, and we're going to cut at 5 1/8. And then slide it over and do 5 1/8 again. Now, if you are using a paper that has a pattern that actually has an orientation, you know, that it has to go a certain way, you want to be mindful of that when you cut it down at 8.5 inches. You want to make sure that the top is facing one of the sides, so that when you turn it to cut it at 5 1/8, that your paper is going the right direction. You want to be mindful of that when we score it as well. So this is scrap. You can set that aside for right now. And then we're going to set our two. This is going to be for the 3 by 5 Post-it notes, and we're going to set those aside and then bring back in the smaller strip. So this is already at 3.5 inches, so that's perfect. That's what we wanted. And we are going to cut it down so that it becomes 3.5 by 8. Got that right, yeah. Okay, and then we will use this a little bit later for cards. I'm going to set my trimmer aside, and I'm going to hold on to the strip that we just cut, and you'll need your scoring tool, whatever that is. I'm still using my old trimmer with the scoring blade. One of these days I will invest in an actual scoring board, but this works for now. So to score on this one, and again, if you have a pattern that has a specific orientation, you want to make sure it's facing the right way. We are going to start scoring from the bottom up. So depending on whether or not you're using a scoreboard or a trimmer or just a ruler and a stylus, you just want to make sure that we're starting at the bottom. But we're going to do our first score at 1 3/4. And then we slide over to 2 1/4 and 5 3/8, and then 5 7/8. And that's it for that strip for now. You want to bring in one of your larger pieces for the 3x5 notepad and turn it over. And again, this time we're going to start from the left. So like if this had a top and bottom, I would want my top facing down. But we're going to make our first score at 3 1/8. And then we're going to go to 3 9/16. So that is just past 3.5. And then we're going to go to 6 11/16, which is just shy of 6 3/4. And then at 7 1/8. Okay. So we are, let's go ahead and score our other one real quick together. So again, you score at 3 1/8, 3 9/16, 6 11/16, and 7 1/8. Okay, so now we are done scoring. Put that away. And it doesn't matter which one you start with, but we're going to go ahead and start creasing our score line. So if you have a bone folder, that comes in handy at this point to help you get sharper folds that you want to fold at each one of the score lines that we have made. Okay, and then I'm going to bring my little 3x3 one back in, and we're going to do the same thing. Okay, so now this longer, you can see that one of these strips is just a little bit longer than the other one. The longer one is your top. That's the flap that's going to go on the top. So we're going to pull in our Post-it pad, and again, this is a 3x3 inch pad. Excuse me. You want to use a strong adhesive at this point to keep the pad onto the holder. I'm using like just the Suquane score tape, and I just go around all the edges just to make sure that it's going to have a good strong hold. And then I do put one in the middle, and then I use my bone folder again to come in and burnish that down so that it holds really well. backings off. And then you want to make sure that it's lined up evenly between the top and bottom score line and your left and right edge. So I'm going to try and do this without getting my head in the way. And push that down really well. And so that's your bottom and that's your top. So now I'm going to add my Velcro piece, and this is, it's just called Sticky Back Velcro. I got mine at Joann's, but I've seen them on Amazon. I think Hobby Lobby has them as well. And basically it's 4 strips, like 1 top, or 2 tops and 2 bottoms that come in each pack. And what I do is I take the top and the bottom, a top and bottom strip. You can see how they're sticking together. I take the top and bottom, stick them together, and then cut them down into just little strips like this. You can also find them different places in round. So depending on what project you're doing, you could use either one. But I'm going to start with my top here. On this one, I'm only going to peel off one side, the backing from one side right now. And then put it where I want it on the inside of this top flap. Push it down really well and make sure it's going to stick. And then I will peel off the backing from the other side. And then line it up so that my ends are flush. And then press it down so that it also sticks to that bottom flap. And then I like to kind of test mine, open and close it a few times just to make sure that it's going to stick to the paper. And there you go. So now you could embellish this any way you want to. I'm not going to embellish it on camera today. I just wanted to show you the projects themselves. So next we come to one of our 3x5 pad holders, and see, this should fit in there perfectly. And these do open sideways as opposed to the line ones opened up and down. So it's totally up to you if you want to orient it so that they open like this or it opens like this. I don't know that it really matters because you could still write the note and peel it off. But again, we're going to use the score tape to put on the backing. The other reason I like to use the score tape instead of wet glue, I've mentioned this before, I don't always have the patience to wait for wet glue. The benefit of wet glue is that it would give you a little more time to get it positioned right where you wanted it. So once it's down with this tape, it is down, regardless of whether it's where I want it to be or not. But I do like the stability and just the quick use of the score tape. Okay, so again, I want to make sure that it's centered in between my left and right score lines and my top and bottom edge. And again, when you're orienting this, you want the longer flap to be on the left side. That's going to be what's going on the top cover. Trying to not get my head too far in here. Press that down. Okay. So that's how that one is going to go. And I'm going to use my Velcro again, and this time I might stick it on the smaller flap first. Press it down really well. Peel the other backing off, and then try and line these up so that the top edge meets the side here. And then there you go. So here are 2 of the projects. I'm not going to do the second big one on camera today because I want to go ahead and show you a little note card Now I just took some craft cardstock and cut it down to 3 by 6, folded it in half so that it gives me a 3 by 3 inch card. So this scrap that you have left should be 3.5 by 4. So you can make whatever size mini card you want. You could do it as the 3.5 by 4. But I sell a lot of the 3 by 3 little ones, so I'm going to go ahead and stay consistent with that. So I'm going to take this scrap and cut it down to 2 7/8 by 2 7/8. And if you wanted to, you could take your note card, round the edges of the card, round the edges of your paper, and put it on. I'm just going to leave mine square for now. And then to adhere this, I'm just using my ATG. And there we go. And then you just center it on your card. And then you would embellish that, add a sentiment, add embellishment, whatever you wanted to. But then that is your little 3 by 3 card. So like I said, you can get 4 sellable projects out of 1 sheet of 12 by 12. And you do have some scrap left. These are the little pieces that I have, and mine's double-sided, so I could always, put this here and add a circle element to embellish that. You could use it to decorate your card, the inside of the card, you could use this to embellish the pieces that you've already made, or you could even make another card out of the scraps. So you could get a little more mileage for your money there. The point, again, was to show you that you could get 4 projects out of 1 sheet of paper, and you could use them, you could mass produce them for craft shows, or if you don't do craft shows, you can mass produce them for gifts. These little notepads make great stocking and Easter basket stuffers. They make great coworker, friend, teacher appreciation gifts. So you could use them for any type of gifting. And it's kind of a double win here. Not only are you using up your stash, but then you're also able to mass produce for, gift giving or a craft show. I will have the dimensions of my cuts and scores in the description box below, but please do let me know if you have any questions on anything I made today. And if you are going to try this, whether it's for a craft show or for gift giving, if you think that you might try this to help use up some of your paper, please let me know that in the comments below. And if you have friends that you think would benefit from this, then please be sure to share this video with them. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, because I have more ideas coming on how to help you finally use up your stash, because that is my goal for the year, use up the stash. And speaking of that, I am finishing up the cards from my Songbird pad, and so I will have those ready to share with you next week, and then we'll be able to wrap this project up. Thank you guys for your time today, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.